You what?
Doing planning board at the same time.
Oh, God.
Hope they're paying you double.
You what?
Bob? Doing planning board at the same time.
And we are all set.
Okay, call the meeting to order, the North Greenbush Fire District Number 1. Please stand for the pledge. You can direct your attention to the flag behind Commissioner McCray. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the
To the republic, which stands
one nation,
one nation under God, indivisible,
indivisible.
liberty, justice for all.
Moment of silence in memory of the deceased members of the fire district. Again, for the commissioners, if you're not speaking, could you just mute your mic, just so we don't get feedback? And then whenever you want to speak, just unmute yourself. Roll call.
Rich?
Gotta unmute now. I'm here.
Okay, Dan?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Scott?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Excellent.
Full board is here. Public session will be held at the end of the meeting. So for any members of the public that we have viewing this evening, if you have any comments, please send them in via email as posted on the directions. Fire District Committee for WF Building upgrade, Rich French and Dave Wilson. Rich or Dave, do you have?
I have nothing for, during the course of this month. I was only over there twice. I didn't see anything that jumped out, and nobody approached me about anything.
I know we're going to start looking at trying to get together as soon as we can to look at the upstairs and stuff, but we've been holding off because of the COVID.
I would add that the outside work that was done, that Dave coordinated, getting those trees taken down, looks real good. Looks a big improvement.
Right, Dave, thank you for coordinating that. Department presidents reports. Do we have anybody from WFD on? Or president's report?
And nobody from WFD is on, but President Facto from DFD is on.
Yeah, no, I see PJ. Did anybody, was anything submitted?
The only thing was submitted, it's in correspondence, was just a listing of the new officers elected.
Okay, we'll get to that under correspondence. DFD president report, PJ Facto. You're on mute, PJ.
Sorry, I had a little problem getting on, but can you hear me now?
Yes.
We did submit a letter of the new elections. Other than that, we have no building use or anything. Would like to say thank you to Scott for your year of service. Appreciate everything you did for both departments, and good luck to you in the future, and looking forward to serving with the new board member.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Right. Thank you, PJ. Approval of the prior month's minutes. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions from the commissioners?
None here.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November. Motion made by Rich.
Second,
Who was the second?
David.
Dave?
David. Seconded by Dave. All those in favor, you can even just raise your hand if you have your camera on.
Aye.
Motion carries. Treasurer's report, Sean.
All right, so you all should have a copy of the treasurer's report in your Dropbox. The checking account has a reconciled balance of $8,558.37, earning 29 cents worth of interest for the month, $378.33 for the year. The bond fund has been closed, but for the year, it did earn $1.31 worth of interest. The money market account has a reconciled balance of $1,737,175.08. Of that amount, $421,571.21 is for the general fund. $1,108,578.42 is capital reserve equipment. $154,826.87 is capital reserve building. And the repair fund has a balance of $52,198.58. The money market earned $14.24 worth of interest for the month, excuse me. And then year to date through November, $370.78 worth of interest on the money market account. And copies of the bank reconciliations and the bank statements are attached herein for your review.
Any questions for Sean?
Nope.
Entertain a resolution to accept the treasurer's report.
Make the resolution.
Resolution made by Brian. Need a second? Rich French, roll call.
Rich? Did he give us a thumbs up?
I'm sorry, I'm still muted. Yes.
Okay, sorry, brother.
You guys can just, indicate with a hand.
All right, Rich, Brian,
Good.
Dave,
Yes.
Scott? Blue Scott? Oh, I don't have him on my screen. I'm sorry. And then you, Dan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution carries. Approval of the current month's invoices. They should be in Dropbox.
Yep. We had a grand total of $41,139.88 for the month in December.
Any questions on the invoices?
None here.
Ryan had reviewed them earlier.
Yeah, I didn't say anything out of the ordinary.
All right. Entertain a resolution to approve the invoices as presented.
I'll make it.
Brian, need a second? Scott, roll call.
Scott? Ryan?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Thank you.
Invoices are approved. Correspondence received. Bob?
Yes, received our KeyBank FDIC insurance assets ending 10/30/2020. We received a letter of intent for the commissioner's position from Daniel T. Bornhorst Jr. on 11/18/2020, a letter of intent for commissioner's position from Nicholas Scifo on 11/17/2020. Some training notices for 2021 from the New York State Association of Fire Chiefs. Received a thank you letter from Town Clerk Janice Kerwin for the assistance on Election Day. We received client advisory number 6 from Hannigan Law Firm, which had several topics in it. We received an official letter from DFD from their secretary for their 2021 chief and elected executive board members. We received just a listing from WFD for their 2021 elected officers. I did speak to the president. He is going to have their secretary send an official letter to the board. We received the certifications from the December 8, 2020 North Greenbush Fire District #1 annual elections from the secretary, the chairman of the elections. And we also received a PenFlex Service Award program package, just some highlights of the program package that they provide to the fire district.
Any questions for Bob regarding any of the correspondence received? Okay, Bob, correspondence sent.
Yes, one letter was sent to the North Greenbush Planning Board regarding the Stacy Way development on 11/19/2020.
All right. Any, does the chief or any of the commissioners, we can do it on our development plan review, but any comments on that correspondence that you want to add, or do you want to do that later on our development plan review? That would be Brian and Scott and the two chiefs.
Whichever.
We'll do it on our plan review then, I guess. All right. Old business, high band radio, VHF radio quote. This is a topic of discussion last month. I believe this is for the remote head at the pump panel. Am I right? Bob?
Yes,
Is this the topic? And I believe we left last month with the chiefs were going to come back with a recommendation.
That's correct.
and Terry has also just put that quote up on the screen for everybody. And I did fill Rich in on the procurement details, but he has other details to report.
You want me to go ahead, Bob, Dan?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Bob.
All right,
Go
I'm
ahead, Rick.
sorry. Yeah, the chiefs discussed it, I guess, at some length, and decided to spend the extra money on the microphones, or the pump panel microphones for the high band radios, the heads and the microphones out there. It is what it is. So we got to approve the radios so that we can get the cables for them at least, and we got to get the cables out to Sutphen. Bob and I talked today. We may not be able to get the actual cables. We may have to. They may have to. We're gonna put the guy from Wells in contact with the factory engineer so that we get it right as best we can. But the timing and the delivery of the cables is such because of COVID that we have no idea when they're going to get here. So we may just be able to run cables, and then when the radios get here, have them solder ends on each end, and then connect them up to the radios as best we can. We don't know that. We're gonna have to put the Wells Communications in direct contact with Sutphen regarding that, so that we get it done as best possible. But we got to get, before we could do anything related to that, we had to get the radio expenditure approved.
All right. Any questions for Rich or the chiefs regarding this? Rich, it's a little hard for me to read that. Is it basically 5,900?
Yes, I believe Bob could clarify that, but I believe it's $5,900 for the radios.
Yep, 5967.94, and we believe the labor is going to actually be less than that, but that's sort of a worst case scenario because some of the work may be done by Sutphen.
Yeah,
But
most
if the work can't be done by Sutphen, then Wells will have to do some work.
running the cables is probably the most labor intensive part of it. And if Sutphen's going to do that, and if we can get the cables to Sutphen as they can, that's going to cut out a lot of labor cost. Because otherwise Wells will be dropping headliners and pulling off panels and all that other stuff to get the cables where they need to be, especially to get those radio heads out to the pump panel.
Any other questions from the board? All right, entertain a resolution to approve up to $6,000 for the purchase and installation of the VHF radios for the two new engines.
I'll make that motion.
All right, resolution made by Dave. Need a second? Seconded by Scott. Roll call.
Scott,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Rich,
Nay.
Dan,
Aye. Resolution carries.
thank you.
All right. Um, This is not really, I'm not really sure where this would fit in and or whether it be old business. We've been dealing with this a while, or one of the committee reports. But regarding COVID-19 and its impact on our operations, we did start loosening things up more. But however, as everybody knows, things are beginning to worsen and the infection rates beginning to rise. And we're also facing situations where we have more people quarantined or infected. So I think it's a good time to kind of talk about this and how this may impact us. It's kind of had an impact on our board directly, but also how it'll impact fire operations, both from the chief point of view and also in-house. Terry had sent out some correspondence that a commissioner from his home fire district shared. But Terry, I was just wondering if you could kind of shed some light on, your perspective of this, working with multiple fire districts across the state, what you're seeing, and if you had any recommendations, not necessarily only from a legal point of view, but your experience as a firefighter that gets to see an awful lot from a lot of different districts.
Yeah, well, and I've been fortunate that the guy who's a district or commissioner of my district is literally on the front lines at Wadsworth and the rollout of the vaccine and all of this communicable stuff. So firehouses are shut down. I mean, that's universal. There's nothing social, nothing extraneous going on. In the last 2 weeks, the trend has been to any place that was, well, most of the places I'm dealing with that have been having live drills are going back to virtual, at least until we get through this next hump or next increase in the outbreak. I mean, it's kind of like what you're seeing in the schools, Dan. And I think everybody's just kind of holding their breath to get the Christmas break. Unfortunately, with the fire service, we don't have that luxury of a couple of weeks off. So I'm telling districts to plan on their organization meetings, their January meetings to be virtual, because I think we're not going to crest that wave for a bit. What we're also seeing is that we're getting some like bizarre requests from organizations from as mainstream as the Red Cross and obtuse as some other, not-for-profit goody, organizations wanting to use firehouses, the YMCA after school program or the holiday break program. It's just not a good idea. Candidly, we've got the firehouses locked down, trying to keep them sanitized for our own people, and then to allow them to be used for anything else it's just not acceptable. So I think that's, if you wanted me to gauge what other places are doing, the same things you are. I've got a couple places that are prepared to scale back the response, particularly of at-risk members, kind of along the lines of what that proposed legislation was. But it's obvious, that we didn't get it bad here. I think some firehouses got hit, some none at all. But I think your at-risk people are really more sensitive now than maybe they were at the outbreak of this thing. So if you've got issues with people coming down, particularly 65 or older or with comorbidities, that you might want to consider making accommodations for them with respect to call response, either by having them when the tones go out, either respond with a message and I am responding, or email or something saying I'm available, but have them kind of as a ready reserve if you need them. That's what's trending right now. Basically, back to March 2020 limitations.
Any comments, feedback, questions from the commissioners?
Dan, we had an impromptu discussion, a couple of us just in the engine bay today or in the radio room after the call. And just, listening to what Terry was saying, it's, I mean, that would be all well and good. And I don't know what the situation is in Winneskill during the day, but I know that there's days that, we'll go out with a crew of 4 or 5 on first due, and I'll be driving and I'm the youngest guy on the engine. So I think if we were, I'm only 64 and a half. So there's a couple of, most of the others are 65 and older. But if we were to limit those 65s and olders, we wouldn't have anybody during the day right now. We'd have very few during the day. Let's put it that way. So I think it's an unfortunate set of circumstances that if we're going to keep responding, then we now maybe at nighttime we could do something like that, or maybe on other hours. I'd leave that to the chiefs, but I don't see the ability to do that during the day right now.
Rich, any comments on some of the other pieces as far as drills and meetings, in person, virtual?
The more we can do virtual, the more we can do remote, the more we can do, without face to face. There was some flack, and Scott took some flack, unfortunately, over that drill that I taught, where I had to take the mask off just to be able to breathe and project my voice to 40 people in an engine room. And he took some flack because there was some pictures taken where that showed that I was the only one in the room without a mask. Well, I was, because I was trying to project my voice to across that engine bay. So if we've got to cut out drills like that and try and get it down to small settings, or I don't know. I don't have the solutions, unfortunately.
Any of the other commissioners? Comments, questions, feedback, suggestions?
I think we're kind of fortunate with the holidays coming up here that there's going to be a couple of weeks when we're not going to have too much activity except for calls. Most of the drills are bonus sign-ins for chief drills and stuff like that. But I think we're probably going to end up having to tighten things down a little bit more on drills even and the meetings. So I'm open to anybody's ideas on that.
As Terry said, we're at March 2020 again, but I got a feeling that we're going to be at March 2020 till June of 2021. So I think what we did for a couple months or a few months in 2021, we've got to tell the officers and the chiefs and ourselves that we've got to be prepared to do that again for a longer duration.
What you should consider, at least for the short run, is kind of a hybrid drill, which is you use a video segment or the Dave Walsh ones. I know Rich knows Dave segments, which run about an hour. You can run a couple of those, or you can run one with then a hands-on demonstration with a few people at the firehouse. No more than 3 or 4, but either a hose advance or some follow up with it. It's you can't have people in large groups. The cases are legion out there now where. It's like VD was when we were young, folks. Okay. You're sleeping with everybody who slept with, okay. And the firehouses are being impacted just like the schools were. Somebody got exposed to somebody 2 weeks ago. And it's the risk you run in where I've seen a couple instances where, officers have gotten, and you've wiped out 3 or 4 lieutenants or an officer corps, God forbid, all your chief officers, because they had a meeting with their officers and somebody, 5 days before had been exposed. So you really have to even limit the way you do your leadership, operations from having everybody in the same, room or so
we went through a scare at the State OC. It started about 3 days before 3 or 4 days before Thanksgiving, where we lost 9 of our key people on the day shift in the State OC because of potential exposure. Turned out none of them turned out positive. None of them tested positive. They've all since returned to work. But we put people into quarantine for 14 days as a result of one person coming in the building and potentially exposing that crew of people. And I will tell you that the fallout and the ramifications from having to do that went much deeper, because now we are dealing, and I'm not going to name any names, obviously, but now we are dealing with, we're dealing with some mental health issues. We are dealing with some alcoholism issues. We are dealing with some other things that occurred as a result of and were exacerbated by the quarantine. So we don't want to put the fire company in the position of putting somebody into a 14-day quarantine where they got to lose their work, they got to lose their employment, or any of those other things. So I think we got to be more careful than ever.
I also think there's a public safety impact if you've got a group of 15 to 20 people together, whether it be for a drill or a meeting, and from that whole group of people is quarantined. That really has an impact on your responses. Here would be my suggestion. I'd like to hear from the board, rather than us right now come up with, how we're going to move forward. I think between the two chiefs of both departments, the two presidents of both departments, you've heard, the concerns raised, not only by our council and Rich, but you watch the news. I think it would be good if the two chiefs got together, the two presidents, and then you kind of came up with some recommendations to present the commissioners, and then we come out as a unified policy on this. We can't have, things being done different ways across the district. So for the board, what do you think of that? We gather the feedback from the civil leadership and the firematic leadership. They can submit it to us, and then we'll come out in short order with what the recommendations are going to be.
I agree, Dan. I think we got, I think the activity that's going to be impacted the most is going to be training, as we've already identified. We've got some new officers, young officers that really want to get out there and make their mark in the first half of 2021 with training. So we got to figure out a way to do that and yet keep everybody safe. So I mean, maybe we're going to be doing some Zoom drills, but let them come up with a workable solution that allows us to do that.
Do we really want to wait another 30 days before our next meeting to make a decision?
I think that's a long 30 days when you
I
see.
think it's too. I think with the advantage that we have right now, I don't believe Wyanskill's got any drills planned until the first of the year. And I almost think that if we give them that time period while we're not having drills to come up with a plan for training virtual, but we also have monthly meetings that are going to be coming up back and forth too.
And the advantage we have too, versus March is, we're all experienced in this now in a virtual world. So hopefully this should be a much smoother transition than it was when we shut down unannounced in a matter of basically a week. So I think as far as a time frame, we've been down this road before. I don't think it should take too long. If we could ask the two chiefs and the two presidents to, you could email Bob your recommendations. We'll maybe give it a week, maybe till the 22nd, and then Bob can share it with the board, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll have a final recommendation out by the following week, so we can get everything out before January 1. And I think, like Dave said, things will be kind of quiet anyway, I think, prior to then. What do you think of that timeline?
Well, I think it's a good timeline. I mean, honestly, we already had plans going back to March, April, May. So I think a lot of the groundwork's already been laid as to what we would do. As far as training, it's a matter of finding some different platforms, how they want to deliver drills, if they want to do it this way. But most of the plans, I think, are already in place. It's a matter of re-implementing, so to speak. With the cases spiking now, and, it's good to have something in place now because, as the holidays go and the gatherings start, they anticipate a major spike by the beginning of January again. And it's probably a fair time range. Plus, it's the end of the year and, you know, you got 12 months to make your drills next year and get a plan in place now is not, I don't think it would be too hard.
All right, so why don't we shoot for the 21st, a week from today? The two chiefs, you got any questions? PJ, I know your counterpart's not here, but any questions on the timeline? And again, these would just be recommendations, but then we'll come out with a standardized approach after we have a chance to look at all this.
Well, just because of what went on at our December meeting, I have spoke to a member that is, I'll say tech savvy, and he's already started working on some ideas. So I'll reach out to him tomorrow and see what he's come up with and get it to you.
All right. So I guess really from a fire company point of view, it's, you know, how you would propose the format you're going to be moving your.
Yeah, I don't know what Matt's got in mind. He said he's got some ideas, so.
Hey, Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, William.
Okay. So for DeFreeseville, I know this week's drill already got is the Chiefs drill, which we kind of moved off to people can just pick up their food at whatever restaurant they choose. For the next week, it's supposed to be CPR, but I think we'll try to do something a little bit more Zoom oriented for that. And we'll try and figure out another subject that we have to do. But other than that, I think by the first of the year, I think we should have I think both departments, I can't speak on behalf of Mark, but I think we'll get a good idea of how we should be operating drills a little bit
All right.
more in the virtual world.
Yeah, if you could give us, you know, try to get together between now and Monday, the 21st, because then that'll give the board a little bit of time to look it over and come up with some final recommendations so everything can be implemented formally. January 1, I think until then you use your good judgment. Everybody agree?
Okay.
That's good.
Dan, I got two more points I'd just like to bring up.
Sure.
Prospectively, you ought to look into this. I don't know what your response protocol is now, but more apparatus with fewer people in it responding to a call, essentially. If you know, obviously, if you got to work a structure fire, you know, 3 or 4 guys in the back. But if you're going to chase one of your alarm drops, the chiefs might want to consider, particularly day side, you limit to 2 in the back, 2 in the front, and get the next rig or another rig or a pickup truck or whatever with 2 additional people responding. It's the spacing people out physically that seems to be important, or that is important. And the other thing is the EMS protocols now are I don't know if Lynn's brought you up to speed. Eye protection or face shields on everything. I don't know if gloves, masks, and or N95 masks. And eye protection is the state protocol. So I just wanted, if you guys are still running those calls, you want to make sure you have that available for your members.
So can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Go, William.
Okay. So for DeFreeseville, I know Wyanskill has actually some of the eye protective stuff and gloves and stuff like that. DeFreeseville also has those type of kits for EMS calls. Obviously, we only do echoes, so we're kind of lucky in that aspect. We're not getting exposed too much in that reality. For the alarms, it was part of our policy when this whole thing started was to have 4 people on board an apparatus. We kind of laxed up on it a little bit, obviously, as things got a little better, but now we'll just clamp back down on it. I think if Chief Mason, I'm sure would be in agreement. I don't know if he's here or not, but that's something that we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you, William. So we look forward to getting that. Mark was on. Maybe he got dropped somehow. All right. Bob, I'm assuming you'll hear from all of them on the 21st, but if not, can you follow up? And then,
I will, Dan.
All right. Thank you. New business, facility cleaning proposals for DFD and WFD, Bob.
Yes, you had asked me to follow up with our vendors regarding the janitorial cleaning services for DeFreeseville and Wyanskill. M&M commercial cleaning, does our cleaning for DeFreeseville. Their rate was $128 for 2020. They are requesting a $2 increase to bring it to 130. And everybody seems to be pretty happy with M&M. And for Wyanskill, Derek Carandi, he has been doing Wyanskill for quite a while, and he said he would hold his rate at $122 a week. So there'd be no increase there. And Wyanskill seems to be very pleased with Derek. These are still two very reasonable rates that we're getting on weekly janitorial services for both places.
All right. Dave and Brian, you're on the building committee. Any recommendations on those proposals?
The only thing I can see is that I know we were asking them to do a little extra on the door handles and certain areas. I hope they continue doing that too. And I don't have any problem with the prices, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with Dave on the prices. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, $2 increase is not really, it's negligible, really.
All right. Do either one of you want to propose a resolution to approve those proposals?
Yes, I will.
Okay, resolution made by Dave. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Brian, roll call. Sean? That's all right. Dan? Aye. Scott?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Okay, resolution carries. We need to schedule the organizational meeting for 2021. Sean, sometimes we move that. Do you have a recommended date?
I think the second Monday is January 11th. So I think we'll be fine with that. We want to start at 6:30.
Any opposition to starting at 6:30 on the 11th? Does
I'm good.
that
I'm
work?
good.
for you? All right. All right.
Should we, I think it's safe to presume we're going to do it via Zoom, and we should just start planning accordingly now.
Yeah, I think we'll follow this format
Yep. Okay.
that we have here. Entertain a motion to schedule the organizational meeting for January 11th, beginning at 6:30. The regular meeting immediately following.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Brian. Need a second?
Second it.
Rich? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Surplus vehicles, I believe this is the two command vehicles. Bob?
Yes, so we have taken out of service the two older command vehicles. One's a 2004 Chevrolet Tahoe. The second is a 2008 Dodge Durango. They both have high mileage. They're both in not so great shape, but they do have some emergency light equipment and some other components to it that I think if we get them on Auctions International ASAP, we can, get something for them better than just salvage. And the quicker we do that, we can reduce some of the insurance cost expenses by having insurance on them and those type of related expenses. So I already took photos of the vehicles. President Facto has graciously allowed us to sort of pull them under the pavilion a little bit, just so that it keeps them out of the snow so we don't get them plowed in. And I think if I get them on Auctions International ASAP, they could be going close to the end of this year.
I had a question on that, Bob, and it's just a mechanical thing. Are we better off selling them with the light packages on the vehicles, or are we better off stripping the light packages and sending light packages as one auction and the vehicles as another, allowing just about anybody to bid on it?
Definitely keeping the packages on the vehicles because believe it or not, there are, uses for them on the vehicles. When you start taking them off the vehicles, you'll see it on auctions international a lot of times where there'll be several lots of just emergency lights and it brings nothing.
Okay, I just wanted to ask the question. I was looking at them earlier today, so it got me wondering.
I think I want to thank Bob and Adam and the chiefs for putting it all together on the new vehicles. And if we need a motion or whatever to get them on the market as soon as we can to get rid of them, I'm in favor of that.
All right, entertain Terry, resolution or motion for this?
You're going to do a resolution to declare the apparatus no longer necessary for district purposes with an estimated value of less than $20,000.
Okay, we're going to consider that the resolution is being entertained. Do I have someone to make it?
I did.
Dave, need a second?
I'll
Rick,
second it.
roll call.
Rich,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
The other part of that I neglected was in authorizing the administrator to dispose of them in some fashion or another with the highest possible return. Buy a light bar, get a car.
All right, resolution carries. Chiefs reports, DFD.
Sorry about that. Just had it on mute. So don't have much of a report. Eastwick Alarms, as opposed, obviously, it seems like whenever I bring this up, we always get a call over there, but so I'll probably stop bringing it up after this. But for the most part, the Eastwick alarm system, I believe, is all set. After they completed the system upgrade, we almost went 45 days without a call. So that's a fairly significant, that's a good thing for us. The thing with Santa riding around on our end went over very well. I guess there was a big community outpouring. So they said that the streets were just lined up when they went through. Also, I'm just requesting if we can look into getting iPad to finish out the Chiefs cars, probably for Jeffreysville and Wyanskill. They're pretty helpful when we get on calls because obviously the I am responding can show where the hydrants and Knox boxes and other equipment are on the iPads. I know we switch over the mobile hotspots, which seems to work for the most part. Every now and again we have an issue, but just requesting to see if we can look into getting iPads to finish out the Chiefs cars. I think they're a pretty good investment so far. And just also at the end of the meeting, I'm requesting executive session. And that'll be it for my report.
William, I got a question. I got a question on the iPad request. Is that what you're also?
Okay.
Is that what you're also going to recommend for the two apparatus?
I thought the apparatus were going to be a separate request. That they were going to be just coming with the engines.
I understand that, but is it iPad? Or are you going to? What I'm thinking is, if we're going to buy iPads, then we might be able to get a better price if we bought two additional ones by buying more bulk. If you're not going to do an iPad, you're going to do a tablet or a laptop for the apparatus, then it's a mute question.
No, the iPad seems to be working well. I'm sorry, Dan.
No, generally with these iPads, you don't really get a bulk discount.
No. Right.
I'm not opposed to the purchase of iPads for the apparatus, but by the time they come in, who knows, there could be an updated version or something. Okay. And if we're going to buy something,
they're easy enough to get, so it's not a hardship.
Yeah. So I think it's a wise move to get them for that, but since it's not like these things are going to be delivered next week, we might want to
wait.
I just one thing. I think it's a great idea for the iPads, for the apparatus in the chief's cars. The only thing I suggest is that we set them up all the same. So if we're gonna have hydrant locations on them, that every one is matched to the other one so that we don't end up having creativity from two separate departments. That way they're.
The
having their-
software doesn't really allow you to alter the screen in that aspect.
I'm agreeing with Dave in that I think that these these iPads, especially the ones in the apparatus, are going to need a degree of administrative lockdown so that people aren't moving icons around, changing icons, deleting icons, adding apps, and doing all these other things that they think are cute and interesting on the iPad, which will confuse the next user, or you'll have conflicts between apps and that kind of stuff. So it's not going to be like a personal iPad where or a personal iPhone where you want certain apps on your phone and you know where they all are. This is going to have to be an iPad that officers are going to be able to have to get in the apparatus and have immediate familiarity with what's going on. So we probably are going to have our IT people put a degree of lockdown on them. I don't know what that would be, but I know it's doable because we have iPads at work that are set up that way.
Yeah, and the other thing with the iPads were that I'm just trying to get rid of the binders on the apparatus also, just to keep the clutter down and everything else. And plus, it's easier. You can instantly update something on an iPad than it is printing off paper and shoving it in an apparatus so it gets lost. That was kind of the other objective of it also, since we moved into the new Chiefs cars. We're trying to dump some of the binders into the iPads.
And William, how do you organize that, or how do you propose that they be organized? Using like Google Docs, or is it just uploading PDFs? Where would you?
A lot of the stuff that I've been doing is just PDF, and I've been emailing it to myself just to upload it into the iPad, and then I just dump it in to the computer off into a file. So that's the way I've been operating, but I'm sure there's an easier way to it. I just haven't really explored many of the options right now. I've been still fiddling with the system a little bit, but nothing too strenuous on it.
All right. Well, I don't think there's any question that we should make those purchases, but I do think if we're going to be expanding these, which I think is a wise move, we should really put some time and thought into how to best utilize this and what format to post all these documents. And I'm thinking something more along the lines, whether it be through Google Docs or I know like Microsoft Office 365, just so when you make an update to something, it's a live update across the board and you don't have to be worrying about taking down old PDFs and replacing them with new ones. Everything's just done, automatically. So
that's understandable.
What's that?
No, I said that's understandable. I get that.
All right. I know a few months ago we purchased a fairly reasonably priced vehicle mount for the iPad. Did you kind of figure out what is going to be needed for those Explorers and then for the two Tahoes? Because I think we're at a point.
The mount that we have right at the moment seems to be working for my Explorer, and I believe it'll work for the new Explorer. The new Explorers also. I don't know how the Tahoes are going to fit, but it seems like they're a fairly good little unit. I mean, I think they're $40 or something like that. It's a pretty good unit.
All right. Bob, why don't we'll approve that under business operations and technology. If you have a chance to multitask, can you just kind of get do a quick search and a price so we know how much we're approving, and you can give it to us later and we'll approve that under business and technology along with some other purchases that we have to make there. All right, William, anything else?
Nope, just the other than the executive session at the end requesting.
All right, just when you go into executive session, we just need a general reason, and it needs to be in compliance with the personnel. Is it contracts? Is it
employment history of a member?
Okay. Good. All right. Mark Mason, is he back on? There's Mark.
There he is.
Mark, Wine and Skill Chiefs report. Mark, can you hear us? All right, we're gonna move on. William, can you send Mark a text and just
Yep, I'll send him a text.
yeah, and we'll get back to him.
Dan,
Okay.
Yeah.
could, and William, maybe he can just ask him to call in. Because that's what William is on a line. He could just call in to one of the numbers. William, if you have it, you can give him the number.
Okay, will do.
All right, so we'll move on and we'll get back to Mark. Apparatus and equipment, Dave and Rich.
Dave, you got anything? Because I got a couple things here, but
Just the Chiefs cards, like I said, they did a nice job. They straightened out the stripes and the lettering and stuff like that. The radio equipment is being worked on. I know there's a few things that they're going to tweak on the Chiefs cars that needed to be corrected. Bob's working on that. They're in service and the old ones are out of service, so we're doing pretty good with that. I know there's a few things that the Chiefs are going to be looking for, some type of a mounting brackets for a couple of the tools they carry in the Chiefs cars. The SCBA brackets aren't quite the right one, so we're working on that. Some type of a flashlight base for whatever. It's some smaller items that just need to be picked up, visors for the windows on the doors on the trucks and stuff like that. So other than that, I think they come out pretty good.
one thing I had for 2021 with regard to the apparatus, something to think about, and again, we're not going to take an action on it now or tonight, is that with us actually reducing the number of pieces that we're running in full-size apparatus. And DeFriesel went down one a couple of years ago when they got rid of the rescue. Winesco's going to be going down one this year when we replace 2 engine tankers with one. It probably is not a bad time to put a committee together. We could probably use the truck committee if they wanted to continue the truck committee, or put another committee together to just take a look at what's in all these compartments. Because I hear it on both sides of town that there is so much, you can use your own expletive here, there is so much stuff in the compartments that never gets used. And the only reason we carry it is because we've been carrying it for 20 years, kind of things. That it's probably not a bad time to take a walk through these things and say, what gets used, what doesn't get used, what do we need to carry? What do we carry that doesn't get used very often, but when we need it, it's going to be a critical thing that we still have to carry, like the blitz connections is something that comes to mind there. And just kind of go through and do some of that housekeeping. That would also help us with some form of standardization as to why are we carrying, why is DeFriesel carrying 3 of these and Winesco doesn't even have one, or why is, or vice versa. Maybe there's some good reason we should look at some of this stuff and figure out what's needed and where it's needed. And, do we need to buy some additional stuff so it's available on both sides of the aisle. So this is just one thing that I had with regard to apparatus standardization. Kind of goes into firematics, it goes into firematic operations, it goes into apparatus, and it goes into equipment. It kind of touches on all 3, I guess.
Yeah. Well, when we created quite a few years ago the firematic operations committee, so to speak, which is also you and Dave.
I know it. I've never really known what that's supposed to do. But
well, it's exactly this kind of thing, because it's kind of one of these things that we talk about and it kind of cycles around every few years, and I think that's a good idea. So maybe we could just ask you and Dave
to work on it
to kind of connect with the 2 chiefs, and you got a whole fresh new set of line officers, so the timing is probably good. Building and grounds, Dave and Brian.
I've got a couple things here. I know that they want to start looking at the upstairs and what we're going to be doing with that, sitting down with the committee. But again, we've been holding off because of COVID. The other thing is I'm not sure if we had a chance to look at it, Bob, with the Wi-Fi or the speed of the router or whatever it is for Jimmy Oliver to do his reports. That was an issue. And other than that, it's pretty much hurry up and wait for what we're trying to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the upload speed, we have initiated an enhancement that we're hoping will solve the problem. It's been signed off. I've spoken to Dan on this, and he approved the authorization to go ahead and upgrade. Just because we're in December around the holidays, it could take 2 to 3 weeks. That was about a week and a half ago, but they should see a significant difference over there with upload speed over here to DeFreeseville.
Okay, I'll talk to Jimmy Oliver, and then maybe we get some feedback from Jimmy on that.
All right.
Nothing to
Brian,
add to that. Nothing else to add.
All right. District person.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. The copier seems to be okay. Thank you for taking care of that, Bob.
All right. District personnel, there is a need for an executive session to discuss personnel. Afterwards, Brian and I spoke. Anything else, Brian?
Nope, that's it for now.
All right.
Dan,
Yes.
I have one thing on district personnel.
Okay.
I'm in receipt of a cancer disability claim form, and it needs to be signed off by authorized personnel. So I was hoping you can pass a motion authorizing me to sign this paperwork so I can pass it back.
I think that would be an appropriate topic for executive session first. I don't really want to be approving
Okay.
something that I haven't seen.
Okay,
So we'll talk about that in executive session.
very good. Thank you.
Don't anticipate problems, but I think we should at least have a better idea what we're approving.
Okay.
Finance, insurance, and long-range planning. I don't have anything. Scott, do you?
No.
All right.
I
Go ahead, Sean.
I have the audit scheduled for January 20th through the 22nd.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Yep.
Policies, procedures, and membership. Got a note here from Bob that we never received the information on the WFD member. This is going back to a couple, 2-3 months. The board set a deadline that it had to be received by November 23rd. And if it was not received by that date, the membership approval would be rescinded. So was rescinded as of 11/24. So I think when that goes in, we're going to have to revote on that member.
Has the member been notified? Is he still coming around? Is he doing anything? Or former member, I guess we got to call him now?
Chief Mason?
I don't think he's on.
I'm not sure. I mean, we had multiple discussions over this.
Dave or Scott, have you seen him? No?
I
I
have
haven't
a
seen him.
few
No.
members that came through.
That doesn't mean he's not there, but I haven't
No.
seen him.
He's not there, but on the same hand, I think we need as a board, send it off in writing to the president and the chief, just so that they get this information, because for whatever reasons, we're not making communications with them. Either
Yeah.
they're not here for the meetings or whatever.
Or they're not taking it seriously or something. I don't know what the problem is, but
Well, it's been a whole month that's gone by since we talked about it the last time, so,
And then it was a month before that.
yeah.
So,
It's a shame that to get members to join and to spend this much time getting it organized enough to have it come through. And everybody knows what the rules and regulations are. I'm just, I'm not happy about it all.
Okay, Sean, can you, as the secretary, prepare a correspondence? We did have people at the meeting last month, so they were
Yep.
involved in the discussion. I know the chief was at the meeting, so he was part of the discussion and agreed, concurred with the November 23rd deadline. I don't know if Mark can hear us or not. All right. Thank you. Anything else for policies, procedures, and membership?
Yeah, Dan, I got one thing. I was asked a question about the gym membership reimbursement stuff. I had two members over here ask about, have we considered prorating the requirement because gyms were closed for a period of months, or not sure that's something we want to look at. I mean, I know right now the policy is, I think it's 30 visits in a year. I don't know how that really affects, but I was told the person I would ask, so.
Yeah,
Is
why
that
don't we,
something-
that we wouldn't even reimburse until, I think it's either
Next month, I think, or,
February.
February.
So
Yeah.
why don't we, I think it's a fair question. But it'd have to be a prorated amount, but.
Yeah.
Why don't we connect and we'll come up with a recommendation to the
all
board.
right.
For next month. Scott's on that committee with you, but obviously he won't be here, so I can work on that with you, and you and I can come up with a recommendation. Does anybody have any opposition to that?
No opposition, Dan. I would just say the gyms were closed about 6 months, so.
Right.
Right.
Just half it.
So I think that's probably the direction we'll go in, but it's not like we're approving anything tonight anyway.
Yeah, I just mentioned, I said I would bring it up for him, so that's all I got.
Nope, that's fair. All right, LoSAP, Scott or Brian?
I don't have
I guess
anything.
the only thing, do we ever have to, again, I know I've mentioned this before, do we have to come up with some idea of how we're gonna handle COVID and LoSAP, or is it, we still got another month on that?
Turn that over to Terry.
You have theoretically until April, but realistically you don't, because they have the reports. I mean, the book closes at midnight on December 31st, and then you get the reports out typically in January, reviewed February, and approved in March. So if you think you need to do something, it ought to be done at the meeting on the 11th.
Okay.
But
We've been kicking this can down the road now for several months, and if we're going to do something, we're going to have to do something and be ready to do something on the 11th. And I in talking casually with Bob Ewing, who did the LoSAP calcs for DeFraceville, he didn't seem to think that there were any problems over here. Now that doesn't speak to each individual person, and I don't know what it does. It certainly doesn't speak to what goes on or what went on over in Winesco with their calcs. But the idea that
Mark, can you hear us?
the idea is not to see who accumulates the most points. The idea is to see who accumulates more than 100 points. So if we're going to go through some kind of process to get somebody from 130 to 145 points, we're just wasting effort.
Yeah, I
thought-
wasn't sure how easy it would be to do like some kind of analysis between the end of 2019 and where we're at 2020 to see, how bad numbers have been really affected by, really COVID and that kind of thing.
I thought we were just going to use those points as needed to get a person up to their 50.
Yep.
Without going through, counting every point, basically, because I think it's something, Terry, you had suggested, right?
yeah, that was. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not lit up on my screen. Okay. Yeah, that was probably the easiest way to deal with that. It just, to Rich's point, the real critical one was call response, and for my my districts, no one that would have made 10% didn't get 10%. So that's the 25 points there. I mean, it may be a non-factor, I guess. You'll always have a certain number of people that don't make it, but If you look at it, if you look at your, prior years and you're pretty much the same, there may not be any sense to even make an addition to it, because then you'll have people complaining that, so-and-so got points and they never show up, or they're never around, and they got, may just be better off keeping the status quo. So you really need to look at, one, what you want to do, and two, has anybody really suffered from a lack of either opportunities or ability to respond to calls?
I'll get together with Mark on that in the next couple of weeks.
Can you hear me, Scott?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you could hear us. Okay.
Yeah, I finally got it figured out.
Did you hear me, Mark?
Yep.
Okay. We'll get together on that on our side within the next couple of weeks.
Right.
All right. Business operations and technology. A few things here. First, the door access system. In a nutshell, we're having issues with the computer that operates the entire door access system here and over at Wine and Skill. I'll let Bob explain that better, but to cut to the chase, we need to buy a new computer to get that working. Bob, can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Yes, we realized recently that the hard drive and motherboard to our S2 door access system had failed. The hard drive went bad, and it must have corrupted the motherboard as well. So we have not done any firmware or software updates with this system since it was purchased in 2016. Many board members who have been sitting on the board know that, because we've presented a maintenance plan from Eclipse to update this regularly, which you chose not to. I do believe it is the better bet. You never know when your equipment's gonna go bad, as the hardware, and in this case, it lasted for almost 5 years. We probably would have spent in the range of $8,000 to $9,000 over the course of the last 4 years updating the firmware. We chose not to. So now it's pay me now, pay me later type of scenario. For a new unit, it's $1,495.20. The labor is going to be $575 from Eclipse to put the new unit in and transfer all the data. Where S2 gets you is you have to update to the new controller and an annual software renewal. You have to do that. That's at $34,49.60. So it's a total cost of $55,19.80. So while that seems a little steep now, but we really have no choice. We already knew that if we had a problem with our system and we had to get S2 involved, could have been last year we had a problem. We would have had to bring the firmware and the software up to speed. So we would have had to pay this at one point or another. Now, what we've done is we've just let the system operate as it's designed to operate, and we've had no issues. So, I think we've actually done pretty well with it. But this is the cost to get this system back up and operational, and the new annual software and support renewal for 1 year.
Any questions for Bob? I don't really think we have really much of a choice whether we replace this or not.
Yeah, we don't.
Necessary.
Is this for both stations?
Yes, it is. It's for both stations.
And this will be a dedicated computer just for that?
It is, yes.
Okay. No, I don't see where we have any choices.
When they do this work, presumably that we're going to approve, there's obviously going to be a downtime. Is it going to be a lengthy thing? How's it going to affect our ability to get in and out of either station just something to think about.
Well, right now, the hardwired units are operating as they should, and that's not an issue. What could be a problem that we could be experiencing right now, like if one of the wireless units, the batteries go bad in the unit and we change the batteries, and then it starts sending its signal back to the hard drive to say, hey, I'm door number 132, let me start working again. It's not going to work right now. Okay. And because there is no computer there per se. So I would tend to think time is of the essence on this, that we don't want to delay this. Eclipse is confident that they can get the equipment and get this back up and running in a very short order.
Bob, I think you may have either told me on the phone today or just now, but how did we discover there was an issue with it?
Well, we discovered because Mark Lasavita, who handles the DeFreeseville end of the door access changes, went into the program and couldn't get in. So we just thought it was, maybe an access issue on Mark's part. And that's when we realized that the hard drive had failed.
That's right. I just couldn't remember. All right, thank you. All right. Entertain a resolution to approve the 5520 to make this purchase for the new computer for the access system.
So moved, or so resolved.
All right, Rich, need a second?
Second it.
By Brian, roll call.
Brian,
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Thank you.
The other thing I'd like to bring up under this is the purchase of a second laptop for the district. Sean currently has a laptop. Bob does not. I'll preface this by saying Bob did not ask for this. It was my idea, but he thinks it would be extremely useful. Not only have we been operating, virtually the last several months, this will continue for quite a few months, but just the nature of Bob's position, even though he's part-time, I think we all know that he works, mornings, afternoons, evenings. You'd never know that he was part-time, and he's using his personal laptop for a lot of fire district business. And I just think for the amount that it's getting used, I'd like to see us purchase one that's district owned and issued to him. I'd estimate the cost probably more likely around $700 or $800, but I'd ask for approval tonight for up to $1,000 for the purchase of a laptop.
I'll make that motion.
Second
A
it.
second.
Resolution made by Dave, second by Scott. Roll call.
Scott,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Thank you,
Resolution
Gordon.
carries.
Dan.
Yep. And Bob, with that, buy a case or whatever you need for that. Sean, I assume you have a case for yours, but if not, you should get one. Sean, do you have a case?
Yes, I do. I do have a case for it.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Development plan review.
Dan,
Right, yes.
you wanted me to get some pricing, and you said
Oh, on the iPads. Yeah. How did you make out?
so the 10.2 inch iPad, similar to the ones that we just purchased, which that was a good price at like $279. They're up to $359 now, and then you would have to consider $80 for the case and a $35 cost for a mount. So you're pushing about $500 a setup.
And how many do we need?
Well, we have two of the older ones that are still operational, but we would need two.
So my suggestion would be we approve up to the $500. But rather than go out and buy this tomorrow, you give it a week or two. A lot of times right before Christmas, you might see a sale or something. And you might be able to save a decent amount.
Yeah, I was gonna say Walmart had them for $2.99, I thought at one point, very recently. I don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas, but I happen to know that dollar amount was pretty firm.
Yeah. So if there's no opposition, why don't we approve it and then use your judgment when to make the purchase, but I wouldn't pull the trigger right away on that.
Do we need to hang on to the old style that we have? Are they worth anything just to get rid of them or to surplus them?
They're some of the old iPads that we have, the second generations, they're junk.
Yeah.
There's no value because you can't even, with the apps right now, you can't do anything with them.
Yeah. I just didn't know if they were worth even hanging on to.
You know what you can do, Bob? If you go, there's different sites, but Gazelle is one. You can go on and you put in the model number, tells you if it's worth anything, and if so, you know, they'll cut you a check. You send the unit back, it doesn't cost anything. And if it's not worth anything, you can at least send it in and it would be recycled and wiped out clean.
Will do.
All right, entertain a resolution to approve up to $1,000 for the purchase of 2 iPads, cases, and vehicle mounts.
I'll make it.
Made by Brian. Need a second?
Second.
Rich, roll call.
Rich.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye. Resolution carries. Development plan review. Brian and Scott.
Well, we had several different plans to review, basically. Some changes, we sent letters in for what was going to be at one point the Albany Med Building down towards Bloom Grove Vet. Basically, it looks like it's the rumors Aldi's. It's a supermarket. We had a couple issues that Chief Burkhardt came up with and myself. Letters were sent in. Stacy Way was another one that's kind of looking at expanding that. Did kind of point out in the letter that there's no street sign. There's no dead end road that never put it in after the first phase there. Other than that, just some smaller development across from Muscatello's over here and, you know, very limited like housing type stuff. But, you know, the 2 big ones were the Stacy Way add-on and the Aldi's, for lack of a better term. I don't think it's that big of a secret anymore.
Brian, I got a dumb question. Where's
Yeah.
State Way?
It's behind Junior's, is that development there.
Oh,
You
okay.
go on Glenmore.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not-
All right.
There's
All
no
right.
street sign there.
I just wasn't familiar. There's no street sign there, so I wasn't familiar with the name.
And if you go all the way down, we went down there for CO activation a month or so ago. If you get all the way to the end, the apparatus, there's no turnaround space. You literally got back all the way back down. The town never made them as required, put in a turnaround.
Wow. In development plans, and it hasn't hit us yet, but there's one that I know it's affecting both the planning board and the zoning board, probably starting in January. It's going to happen very, very quickly from what I'm told, and it's huge. There's a 100,000 square foot building being proposed, 100,000 being a round number, down off of Van Alstyne Drive. So that's one we're going to have to keep an eye on as far as.
Yeah, I heard some stories, but yeah, I heard some stuff on that.
Yeah, it's going to happen quickly, and the word I got is it's going to happen quickly. And we're going to have to, from the town perspective, we're going to have to be ready to move and act on it in an appropriate pace. So I imagine the same thing will happen with the fire district when they're going to come back to us fast. So
Any
All right,
idea what it might be, Rich, or is this not?
rumor. I wouldn't want to speculate in an open forum like this.
All right. Thank you.
There's some paperwork probably changing on the Stacy Way development that went through tonight. There's more information coming to the board, I hope.
Good info.
Okay, Firematic operations. Rich and Dave, I know we already discussed the equipment and stuff on the trucks and standardization, so we will follow up on that next month under this committee.
Yep. The only other thing I'd say under fire department operations is I was in a position the other night, Friday night, I guess it was, to, once I positioned the rescue and got some lights set up to just kind of be a spectator as the operator of Rescue 9. And you would think it was one fire department the way it operated. Just really went well. The chiefs did a great job. It's seamless. It really, we've gotten this down to the point it's absolutely seamless. It's the guys should really be commended on the job they did.
Absolutely.
Right, well, we're 10 years in, so that's good. Was that the call in Hampton Place?
Yes.
All right. Apparatus needs committee.
Yeah, I got some stuff there for you too. Had a couple discussions with Glenn Houston Uston, from Command Fire Apparatus. He's the company that Terry recommended that we give a call to last month when we discussed. And I've had a couple discussions with him. I spoke to him as late as about noontime, 1 o'clock today. He needed a little bit more information on 427, which I got to him this afternoon. He sent me some paperwork. He wants to do an assessment of all 3 of the pieces, and he's starting with a 3-page document for each truck. It's very detailed, a lot of questions. A lot of them don't apply. He wants to know the size of the aerial. Well, that we can draw a line through and say it doesn't apply. But there's a lot of good stuff that he's going to be looking for, including model numbers and serial numbers in some cases, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to give them to Mark and William, and let them figure out how they're going to collect the data off the apparatus, the 3 pieces of apparatus. But I'll have them give it back to me because I want to get it all together, kind of go through it, make sure that everything's there. He's also asking for pictures, and the instructions for the pictures are in with that same form. So like for 427, I think a lot of the pictures we already have, they're the ones that Adam took. I think Adam took them all, and Dave helped coordinate that. But I think we've got enough pictures of 7, or I'm sorry, 427. We're probably going to need the same pictures for 426 and the same pictures for 97. In speaking to him in general, I was kind of floored by one of his assessments early on. He doesn't think we'll do too bad on 427 and 97 because they're, even though they're old, they're Spartan cabs and chassis. They're with hail pumps. It's there's going to be a want out there for them. Not going to be a high want. Not going to be huge money. We're not going to be able to get rich and pay off one of the engines, one of the new ones, by selling the 2 of them. But we will be able to get something for him. He's more concerned about the 426, the 2007 American LaFrance. He said that if it had a LaFrance pump on it, along with the LaFrance body chassis configuration, then it'd be worth just about what it is in its weight and scrap. But with the Hale pump on it, he says it's got a little bit more value. But he says we're gonna have a hard time selling the American LaFrance because they're not made anymore, and every day there are parts for that thing that are more and more and more difficult to get, which scared me a little bit when he said that, because I know at one point we had some people popping off on the top of our head. Oh, we're going to $125,000 for that truck. He flat out said today that if it was a Pierce or a Sutphin or a Seagrave or even a KME, he said even a KME, he said we could probably get 6 figures for it, but not a LaFrance at this point. He is not a broker. He doesn't look at our apparatus and find a buyer for it and then broker the sale. He'll look at the apparatus, and if he thinks he can sell it, he buys it, and then he acts accordingly. Now, the reason we actually contacted him though was to get prices. So this is only a first step. So I'll go through the process with him. I'll get those forms out to the chiefs, and we can, that's something we can have a small group of people work on so that we're maintaining social distancing. Like Adam today, he had to get some information off the Harrison generator on 427 for me, and he said it was a bitch to get in there and get it because it was just where the tag was, And we're compared to where you had to stick the camera to get the shot, to get the information was just a real hassle. So appreciate his doing that for me on short notice today, but that's the kind of stuff we're going to be doing with him. So that's on the selling of the old ones. We've been trying to keep you guys in as many pictures as we can of the new ones. Usually on Thursday or Friday, I get an email from Phil Vandermolen with this week's pictures, and I try and get those pictures out to everybody. But sometimes before I even had a chance to open my email, if it's been a few hours, he goes ahead and posts them anyway. He gives us a little bit of a head start on the pictures, but I don't always see him and get a chance to send them out before he posts them anyway. So sometimes I'm seeing them for the picture for the first time when I see either DeFriesel or Wine and Skill has posted it on their Facebook page because they've seen it on his Facebook page. So we're getting a lot of pictures. People have seen them. It's getting a lot of compliments, both from internally with the departments, and with externally with people on the outside comment on what we're doing. So it's all good stuff.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Anything else on that before we?
I don't.
Rich,
Questions.
Sean?
you were set?
I was, unless there's questions.
Okay. Yeah, the two chiefs had asked for a list of items they'd like to purchase for the new engines. They include new hand lines, 2 battery-powered fans, portable LED scene lights, hand lights, 6 sets of spanners, hose tools, 2 radios, I think we took care of that, 2 Knox box, and 2 iPads, which I know we were discussing earlier. Anyhow, I did go through the expenditures year to date. They're not nailed down 100%. I'll be finishing that up, after we get the rest of the bills done for December and January anyhow. But I was suggesting we maybe pass a resolution to spend up to $20,000 from the equipment maintenance fund unexpended balance, because we're under budget on that, primarily due to fuel costs and so forth. But so spend up to $20,000 for some of this equipment that, Bob's going to reach out to the chiefs and see exactly what they want. And then we'll get some quotes on that. And we can get that, maybe some of those items purchased with this year's unused money at this point.
I support that, Sean. I had a brief conversation with William about it a couple days ago, I guess. In speaking to him, I left with the same impression that you just gave me, is that the two biggest ticket items there, two big ticket items there are the battery operated fans and the hose. What I didn't hear you mention was any nozzles, and I don't remember if that was on part of the discussion when him and I spoke or not. I'm just not recalling that, but I know there was a need for some nozzles. Now, whether they are they're considered replacement equipment, because we are going from 3 pieces to 2. So theoretically, we should have some extra equipment when we're done. But if that equipment is 10, 12, 15 years old, the question becomes, is it time to replace it as well? So
true. And I know the chiefs have been asking for a nozzle, so maybe we can work that into part of this purchase.
What is that cell phone reimbursement? 6 people at $479.88 each.
where are you looking?
It's on the,
And,
yeah.
okay, that was just put in there as a line item. We have the cell phone reimbursement for commissioners and chiefs that do not use the Verizon plan.
So how do you, so
Well, I-
479.
Yeah, $39.99 times 12 is the $479.88, and there are 6 individuals.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. This
Yep.
was so that Sean had an idea on that.
Can I jump in also? Now, when I'm proposing this $20,000, Bob, can you scroll down a little bit more on that document you have on the screen? There we go. I was operating under the assumption that we just did the radio, but I was assuming we would go ahead and make this gear dryer purchase for the $9,200. I was furthermore assuming we were going to complete the second half of the SCBA purchase for the $97,000. So I already have that money like kind of earmarked for this year to be spent on those those few items that are listed there as proposed items.
I think both of them are necessities, and we got to finish the SCBA project. We can't leave that hanging.
I agree.
The gear dryer, well, yeah, it's got to be done. We got to.
Okay. So essentially, I guess we need one resolution to spend up to $20,000 for that other equipment for the new engines, and then, or maybe we can make it all one, and then a resolution to approve the dryer and the SCBA second round purchase.
I'll follow. I'll go offline with William afterwards. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Entertain a resolution to,
Bob had his hand up. I'm sorry.
oh, now that the document's up, I can only see like 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I'd like to point out to the board on that SCBA purchase is, we obviously are guaranteed the pricing from 2019 that was secured. But there was also a question as to, are we going to need everything? And this was going to give the chiefs time. Now, the time's ticking away. We're really looking at probably 6 weeks left to guarantee that pricing. So I really would want to meet with the 2 chiefs so that we could do a final assessment. And, I'm certainly not saying that it should be less. I'm saying they may come up with their quantities and say, well, we only need this, and it comes out to be 92,000. So I just think that that's important that we do this final assessment that was agreed on by the chiefs before we just, commit to say that it has to be the $96,000.
That's fair. I agree. That's fair. I don't know if you heard me or not.
I agree. I think that's a smart move. I mean, the air pack alone is what, 5,000 or 6,000?
Correct.
And again, we're reducing one piece of apparatus, so we may be able to cut some right there.
Right.
Would anybody like to propose the resolution or resolutions?
For up to the 20 grand?
Yeah, or if you want to combine them.
So, yeah, I'll make that resolution.
Okay, Rich, need a second?
A second.
Brian?
Brian, roll call.
Brian?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right. Before we go into public session, well, first of all, Bob, is there any public session comments? We'll do that now.
No.
All right. There is a need for an executive session, but, and there is always I doubt there'll be any business afterwards, but,
I have one thing before I forget about it, and I had wrote it down and I forgot to mention it. The flags at WFD need to be replaced. They looked at Gettysburg. I'm not sure how we cover that, but I know there's a couple flags that they need, and they've been in contact with Bob.
I think that's kind of like a building maintenance issue, and you just order them and get what you need for over there.
Okay, thank you. Bob's got that.
Dan, if I could, sorry, one thing, now we got Chief Mason back. We never did get his report.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Brian.
No problem.
Mark, we couldn't connect with you when we were at your report.
I was getting kicked out on and off there. I stuck with it and got on. One thing I have a voucher, as Bob knows, my credit card was declined the other day when we went to get fuel for the Gray Ghost. So I got a voucher for $24.14 for Bobby Boosted that have to be paid. Other than that, I really don't have a lot. I do have the inventory for disposal for all the gear and stuff all completed, so I can turn it into the district to they can surplus it and do as they need. All right, so I'll get that over to Bob. Let's see. One of the things,
Was that, for Bobby,
talked
was
about-
that already included in our expenditures? Did we already approve that or do we need to? Okay, go ahead, Mark.
okay, just a couple other things. I got two firefighters starting in the BFO class, which will be starting over in DeFreeseville this month. So we're pretty well set there. We got them into that class. We had an expenditure from Waits Garage for $400 to remove the bus. I believe the department paid for it. I don't know if that's something that the district would want to go part or cover that expense. If not, I mean, the department can probably handle it. But I throw it out to you guys just to take and find out for sure what you wanted to take and do.
It's a training prop, right?
Yes, it was.
Was used for training.
Yep.
I don't see why the fire company should have to absorb the cost of training. That's something that's a district cost. That's a legitimate district cost.
Yeah, I believe it was $400, but I'll find out the exact total for you and let you know.
Right.
One of the other things we did, we received a call. I'm sure that Bob knows about it. The alarm over at Hampton Place. I guess the manager for the homeowners association is looking for a copy of the report that we were involved with there. Is there any set procedure that we should, as chiefs, should follow, or that the district has for issuing those type of reports out? I mean, normally we take them out and give them to, if we're questioned or we're asked for, to the insurance companies and things like that. But I didn't know if we took and just readily gave that information out to the homeowners association or not. I'm not sure if they really are ones that's supposed to get it.
I would believe they're probably entitled to them under Freedom of Information Act. So, I mean, there's provisions in that, but Terry could speak to that.
Yeah, and Bob and I have had this discussion a couple times. If it's your garden variety, forget foil for a second, but most everything that we do is subject to foil with with redactions. But if it's a typical like homeowner needs a fire report or reported motor vehicle accident or someone if you have a PCR and it's that person requesting it, it's always kind of been my philosophy that why make them jump through the foil hoop if that's what we historically gave up, and you can turn around and give it to them again, provided there's not any extrinsic information that would otherwise have to be removed from it. But if you get requests from third parties, third parties being somebody other than the owner, the insurer for the owner, the individuals involved, you typically require, if it's medically oriented, you typically require them to have an authorization from the individual involved for HIPAA purposes, or if it's for property damage, or it's the press, or somebody just wants a fire report, then you make them go through the FOIL procedure. But it sounds rather arbitrary, and it is to some degree. But I kind of harken back to what used to be the process before FOIL was in vogue, and that was, if somebody's house burned down and they needed the report for the insurance company, you typically gave it to them, as soon as it was done. So, Bob, that's kind of our understanding, isn't it? You and I.
Yes, and that's how we proceeded, and we really haven't received anything of where it would come to the attention of the board. A lot of this is just routine requests, as Terry had just mentioned. I did not get any requests from the homeowners association, Mark, so I haven't received anything. They may be looking to get that, but I haven't.
Okay, I know a phone call was transferred to me from a representative from homeowners association, so I just wanted to double check and make sure.
Send them my way.
Okay,
Guys,
will do.
Some of that may have to be redacted on who went on the alarm and stuff like that, because the fire report has quite a bit in it, more than just the basic information.
All right. So to approve the purchase requests, Mark, you mentioned 2 people to attend training, but in your report it's for 4. So do you need 2 or 4 approved?
well, I got 2 going into BFO class. And then I have a request that from 4 people to go over to Latham for training over to the hotel over there.
BFO, there's no
Apparently it's a
charge
one,
for 'em, right?
what's that?
BFO, there's no charge for. Am I correct on that?
No, not for BFO.
Yeah.
We
So
originally
don't-
started with 4. We were only able to get 2.
Yeah, so we don't need to take any action on that.
No.
But so you got 4 members for the training over at Coca's Motel: Jonathan Carroll, Ryan Hannigan, Eric Chance, Chris Wilson.
Right.
So, and then the
It
other,
looks like it's a $325
yeah,
expenditure
and
per
then
each
the
one.
other purchase request is for you and William. Case of flares, which was about 16 or 20 or 30 cases of flares for $1,600.
Okay.
Entertain a resolution to approve the training for the 4 folks as well as the flare purchase.
So I just had a question if I could.
Sure.
When is the training? Is it next year or this year? Just for budget purposes.
I don't have it exactly in front of me right now, but I know it's coming up. It's coming up probably the first of the year. I think it's going to be in January.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Yeah.
Did you want to move with that, Brian, out of this year's budget or wait till next year?
Oh, no, I didn't see a date on the training, so I was just I didn't know if Sean needed to know or, because I know we're tight this year, but so I want to see when the training was, that was all.
All
The
right.
only question I have on that is it's none of the people that were approved that are not approved, right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What was the question, Dave?
The people that were supposed to get their paperwork in time and failed, and now they're not going to be considered active anymore or whatever. I'm not sure what the status is of those people.
It's not active firefighter, that's for sure.
Are these all?
Mark, the question is the 2 guys going to BFO, is one of them the one that we don't have, the district doesn't have the paperwork for yet?
No, you district should have paperwork on both of them.
On those
One
2?
was AJ Childrose and Connor. Oh, I can't think of his last name now.
Sage.
Yeah. Yep, Connor Sage.
Bob,
They
you got
both.
both
You
of them?
should have both of those applications.
All right.
They're
Yeah,
okay, but
they were already approved.
Yep, they were approved and physicals and everything were completed.
all right, well, there's at least one other one that we don't have paperwork on.
There's the one we were talking about earlier where we're 2 months behind on him.
Yeah, Mark.
Oh,
you-
John. Yeah, John. I haven't been able to get in contact with him, so I'm going to work on him after the first of the year.
Well, you're gonna have
That
to.
was-
You're gonna have to submit him for reapproval. If you remember
Right.
last month, if it wasn't received by November 23rd,
Right, I still have that application, so.
rescinded. So.
Yep.
We'll have to reapprove him. All right, entertain a resolution for the purchase of the flares and to attend to approve the 4 folks to attend the training.
I'll make it.
Brian, need a second?
Second,
Scott, your last,
official act.
roll call?
Scott,
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye. There's no need for a public session. Well, we had it. There wasn't any public comment. There is a need for an executive session, but we're still in public. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Scott Kennedy for serving as a commissioner for the past year. Although you were only with us a short time, Scott, I think you put in 110%.
Amen.
Hate to see you go. He filled out the final year of Matt Ciprione's term, and you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When COVID is done and we're back to normal operations, we still got your seat reserved in the back there. Maybe you can get Al and come on back.
Oh, all right. So I'll save the seats.
Yep. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular member.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a second, actually, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
I'm giving it to Scott. All's in favor?
Aye.
Resolution carries. So for this executive session, we'd like the chief to stay on, the commissioners and the staff. PJ, thank you for joining us.
Night, PJ.
Dan,
Yep.
Sean had a question on paperwork.
Yeah. Why don't we get back? We'll text. Can you be available? We just have multiple issues with different people that need to be in and out. Can we bring you back? I don't want to, we're still in public session right now, so I
All
just,
right, well, I didn't know if you want me to stay on for Sean's paperwork.
well, yeah. Hold on a second. PJ, I'll just have your phone handy. I'll call you and just use this link again if we need you to get back in. We just have multiple unrelated